Tēnā koutou katoa. A very warm welcome to everybody here today. My name is Jan Ferguson, and it is my privilege to welcome Vienna Carroll, Catherine and Ruth here today to share Vienna's visit, which is very, very special. Vienna, you have travelled so far today, and just like so many thousands of young men who travelled on these whale ships, you know, for a century or more, and they ventured so far from home, all the way to New Zealand. These are people from African American origin, from American Indian origin, Portuguese from the Azores and the Cape Verde Islands, and there were many other nationalities. That was just to name a few. And any descendants who are here today are most welcome to come and share your family's names, come and share your stories. We really would welcome that opportunity as well while Vienna is here. But first, Vienna, this is your time to celebrate your ancestry and to share your special connection with Mangonui. So welcome, Vienna.
Well, I want to thank you so much for being here and taking this time to share with me the story of my ancestor. He's not my personal ancestor. He's an African American man named Edmund Moody, right up the street, prominently displayed in the grave marker. And I'd like to tell you why that's important to me. And I'm going to start by, I was doing some art somewhere with someone, and the young man came up to me and said, "Why didn't we resist, meaning African Americans, during slavery?" I couldn't answer him at the time. And I was flummoxed, and I was embarrassed, and I was, And so then I started finding out that the indoctrination, the brainwashing that was called American history was completely false, and I started finding out stories of resistance. And so I've made it my business to collect those stories and talk about them. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk and I'm going to sing to you. I'm going to sing this spiritual called "There's No Hiding Place Down There." Now, spirituals, the way they work, they don't rhyme. They repeat. They're call and response. Meaning I'm going to call it and you can respond to it. You can sit the first one out, but you'll see what I mean. It'll be easy. Okay, so, and I like to couple them with these stories of self-emancipation because I see the spirituals as freedom songs. They were songs of personal comfort because slavery was a terrible thing in the United States especially. But they were, so this first one is called "There's No Hiding Place Down There," to celebrate that all of this information is coming out and shareable. There's no hiding place down there. There's no hiding place down there. Well, I went to the rock to hide my face. The rock cried out, "No hiding place. No hiding place down there." So you got it, right? That's the song. And I'll call it and you can respond to it. Let's try it once. So I'll call it and then you're singing "There's No Hiding Place Down There." When you hear that, right? There's no hiding place down there. You join me. There's no hiding place down there. Well, I went to the rock to hide my face. The rock cried out, "No hiding place. No hiding place down there." Sounds so fabulous. So, what I did find, well, into my adulthood, and despite having what's called a very good education in the United States, I finally found out that black people were the center as opposed to side players in our own freedom story during the antebellum time before the Civil War, and in our escape story, because that was given to a religious sect of people called the Quakers. And we were just taught that we didn't do anything to advance our own freedom, but I have found that we are the center of our own freedom stories. I started finding that, there's something called the Underground Railroad, and that was how folks escaped to freedom with the help of folks along the way. That was always given to Quakers. However, I found that there were many, many, many black players. I mean, there had to be. And if you started out somewhere and you ended up somewhere else, it's because you had a lot of help along the way. And so when I found out the existence of the Black Underground Railroad, I wrote a play. I'm not a playwright, but I wrote a play, and we put it on in New York, and we were in the Fringe Festival, and we won an award for that play. And I kept trying to find out more things, and then I found out about black sailors, which is what leads me to Edmund Moody. I found out about black sailors and how important they were to our freedom story, and that in addition to the overland Underground Railroad, there was a maritime Underground Railroad, because black men in the early 1800s were very deeply involved in the maritime commerce of the United States. So now I'm going to sing another verse. The rock cried, I'm burning too. The rock cried, I'm burning too. Well, the rock cried out, I'm burning too. I want to get to heaven as well as you. No hiding place down there. So I was finding out about black sailors and how important they were to helping folks escape slavery. And I also found out that in the 1830s, a young man named David Walker had written a book called David Walker's Appeal. He was in Boston, a black man. And he was so audacious that he wrote that we had the right to self-defense. I'm paraphrasing him now, but one sentence in his book, he had his own printing press because he was so fiery, and abolitionists mostly took against him because he was far too direct. He said that if somebody's trying to kill you, you have the right to try and kill them back. That was so revolutionary. But what he did was, he had this brochure book, colored, David Walker's Appeal to the Colored Citizens. It's a huge, long title. And he would sew it in sailors' uniforms. And they, because he was a tailor, and they would distribute it up and down the East Coast. By the end of 6 months, it was so deeply distributed that it was causing a lot of problems, because the sailors were doing that. So I knew that story. So then 2018 comes, and I'm coming back to New Zealand, because my first time we stayed in the South Island, and we were visiting the North Island, and Catherine's mother gave a brochure, and we saw on the Heritage Trail that there was this grave marker for a black man who would come all the way over here. And that was, I'm like, wow, I have to see that. And there it is up the street there. Edmund Moody, 24, says he was a slave from Virginia. So Virginia, I'm getting ahead of myself. So I was so excited that to see that, because I had been telling the stories of black sailors being very important to our freedom story and centering us in our own freedom story. And then here's this black man that made it all the way over here, because black men were essential to the maritime commerce in the early 1800s in the United States. They made up about 25% free and enslaved. And they went all over. They went from the northern ports to the southern ports. They went to the Caribbean. They went to Europe. They went to Asia. They came all the way over here. I said it. And then in 2018, I saw it. And that was just, I was so excited. So from 2018 to 2024, no matter what show I did, I talked about Edmund Moody. And also what happened is I wrote to Jan Ferguson when I left here in 2018, and I'm like, this guy, can you tell me anything about him? And I wrote, and Jan was kind enough to write me back and give me a lot of information that I sat on until I'm coming back in 2024. And then when I'm coming back in 2024, she had told me to look in the whaling logs in the United States, because they keep detailed whaling logs. And I did. And there on page 58 was Edmund Moody. He boarded the ship on October 15th in 1862. And he was on there for 2 years. And it's, his log is a little boring, like how much they charged him for tobacco and his suit and his new shoes and whatever. They apparently came to the Bay of Islands in 1863, so he got to see it then. And then he came back in 1864 when he was given shore leave. And $2.50. And I guess he said he'd had enough, because whaling was dirty and the desertion rate was very high, and he decided he was going to come here. And so he deserted on June 5th with 2 of his other mates, and that was the end of the log in the book. But it was when I saw it, my brain sizzled to be able to make that connection. From that man, because so much of our history is just lost and buried, and it was just wow, this is wonderful. So then I wrote to Jan and said, I'm coming back, and I'm gonna go to his grave and put some flowers, and will the police roll up on me? Can you tell me if that will happen? And so then she found me this lovely church to be with you in. And so there's I don't know how much you know about what's going on in the United States. There's this really deep attempt to keep the myth that has passed as history in place, but it's not able to stay in place. So they're banning books and they're banning history, but it's coming out more and more. This next verse has to do with that. The sinner man, he gambled and fell. The sinner man, he gambled and fell. Well, the sinner man gambled and fell. He wanted to go to heaven, he had to go to hell. No hiding place down there. There's no hiding place down there. There's no hiding place down there. Well, I went to the rock to hide my face. The rock cried out, no hiding place. No hiding place down there. Well, I went to the rock to hide my face. The rock cried out, no hiding place. No hiding place down there. Thank you so much. And now some of you are going to come and tell stories about your ancestors. Okay. I'm not going to call you.